All right, let me make sure this actually looks kind of cool. But yeah, these guys do quick work. I'm talking, we got the upper level at least scaffolded up. Not finished though. Yeah, this is going to be a little fancier. I'm talking, if any characters who we could actually bring out to, check out the gym. Nobody's running around in the middle of Ohio, at least, bodybuilder wise. But I think we'll be able to wrangle a couple more characters. I mean, I'm giving this equipment use, but I need to get some extra use. I haven't even had to replace a barbell because somebody squatted on it so heavy. But now we're getting somewhere. A gym tour 2.0 is nearly necessary. But no talking about that. Let's actually get to the point. Well, let's get in the car. This will be the opener. All right. The age-old question. What's the trick? What's the secret? What's the special technique in which shit just goes down, right? Shit just happens. And I'm not to say shit is actually disrespectful towards the idea of a goal. Cool ass stuff happens, and at least to a degree, it all starts with showing up. It's all going to start from freaking showing up. So, and in the words of a great bodybuilder, Mr. Genova, sometimes nobody shows up and you automatically win. That's an if you know kind of thing. But no, I mean really, that's to take the first step is the first step with a lot of stuff, and I didn't understand that. Well, let me get into it over the next few minutes. But I was just getting into what I was doing with gymnastics and diving with a couple guys before, and whatever it is, whatever makes a high school basketball star turn into a college baller, turn into an NBA guy, whatever takes a regular football club kid all the way into FIFA, it's something I didn't have with gymnastics. I didn't have it with diving. I was good. I could do some cool stuff, but it wasn't that wasn't the point. It was kind of I did it. I really liked it. It was fun, but I didn't have that itch. I didn't have that that fire under your ass, as some people would say, that I really do have with the working out. And part of it was just being a kid. Imagine your 16-year-old self. Do you have one thing in particular? Or actually, I guess this is going a little bit further back. 14-year-old self, 13-year-old self. You're not living life in a way where you've got one particular thing in the center of your mind, always at the forefront of your thoughts, that you want to get better at, you want to work at, you want to kill it. And the ones that do, if that happens that early and it actually lasts, into adulthood, dude, that guy's going to turn into a freaking beast. So I can't exactly say what makes that happen. Is it the guy's dad wanted him to be the best freaking golfer ever, or the best whatever? I don't. From what I can tell, every story of someone where they have made some crazy stuff happen, it's not even as though that was the tangible goal they were aiming for in the beginning. It just kind of happened, right? I mean, take the Ronnie Coleman part. At least this is what I've heard. We haven't had real deep talk or anything like that, but it's, hey man, this gym said that if you competed, you got a free membership. Or a Jay Cutler, as far as I know, the story is he just wanted to work out because that's that was his thing. The actual, go look up the origin story from him to really hear it from his mouth, or anyone. It's there's at least not from what I can tell, not a huge overlap of insane, instant, early ambition into actualized reality. And it's more so just an aligning of the planets, reaching a setup where things are in your favor in a way. And the gym really was like that for me, because to say it clicked is really an understatement. There's no way to describe it better, but like, it was just instant. It's something that I liked, I had decent potential with, and that I could stick to consistently and not get tired of. So this puts me at like a little bit more than 7 years deep into near daily training, which I really don't think I wouldn't foresee that ever changing. Even if for whatever reason I got the thought in my mind, like, I'm done with this working out stuff. Just from everything I know about it, I'd still do it just because how good it is, But at least so far, it's got no inkling of getting old for me. Like every day is still a new day that I'm excited for when it comes to the gym. Not to mention all the crazy people that I get to meet and see and hear from. They just get me extra excited to the point where I want to work out harder so that I can show up next year to this expo or this bodybuilding show or anything, a different guy, and kind of be able to, do my own parallel journey to them, and we all get to sort of see where we land. Like, it's not a competition thing, but it's just like, it's almost like a flexing of your progress. Because if I see a guy where I saw his, a TikTok of this dude a year ago, and then I see him now, and the guy's like a total beast, or, a dude where he said he was going to lose 300 pounds or 200 pounds or 100 pounds or whatever, and then I see him on my phone again later, and he did it, or, anything like that, that's cool. That is sick, because that's putting somebody's putting their mind to something, at least in a way, proclaiming they're going to get after it, even by posting yourself. Like, that's kind of, you're basically setting the record of where you are at that given moment, hopefully to beat in the future. And it's just like, that's awesome for me, but it just happened to click like that. So if it wasn't that, it'd be something else, right? So I guess that's I don't know how I'd want to relate that to someone who maybe doesn't feel the same way about the gym, but maybe it's not instant. Maybe it's something that has to grow on you. I mean, I'd say, what do you think? All right, let's keep let's say 18-year-old dude to 40-year-old dude demographic. What's the percentage of guys where they think the gym is just, a bunch of lunks and meathead bodybuilder guys, and they don't want to be involved at all, and they don't even care about working out? I think a good percentage of them could kind of be persuaded towards actually seeing the benefits if they got into it. So it's like you're taking a kid who says he's a picky eater, and then he says, look, I don't think I'm going to like this. I'm still going to try it, and we'll see what happens. And then, guess he's not so picky after all, right? Something along those lines. But all I'm trying to get at, I guess really my main point there is I'm just freaking excited. So plan for tonight with back. Nothing wild, nothing too hefty, I think. But I might want to get into a little bit of supersets for tonight. I've been on a very straight set kick when it comes to my last couple back days. Just regular pull down, row, pull over, combo, row pull down setup, pose down, leave. Very, very consistent, but, I kind of want to spice it up. So I'll see what I want to do today. Because back is a little hard to superset. If I did a set of pull downs to failure and then immediately jumped onto a set of rows, that's kind of tricky, right? That's a big set. That's not nothing. So we'll see. If I end up doing combos like that, then maybe I'll only do, if I did a set of pull downs as close to failure as I could get, and then immediately into a set of cable rows or a machine row or something along those lines to complete total failure, I could see only doing 4 of those kind of combo sets and having that be it. But we'll see. I'm not going to limit myself just by giving a number now, because I'm not in the gym. So now I'm getting a little off topic of what I was just saying a moment ago, but this is a little bit of an indicator of maybe if you should at least listen carefully when you hear anyone say this in like a gym video or like an Instagram short that got clipped out of context or whatever. Every time anyone says a very, proclamative, rewind 2 seconds, proclamative statement where they're really saying, this is how it is, right here. This is the answer. Everything else is wrong and stupid. That's dumb. That's really dumb. That's not cool. I know that's kind of unrelated to my hype up talk a second ago, but that's a good key that somebody is just boxing themselves in instead of opening themselves up to new ideas. So that's where I don't want to box myself in. I don't want to come into the gym and say I have to do 2 sets of pull downs, 2 sets of rows, 2 sets of shrugs, 2 sets of something and leave and repeat forever. And that's the best way to do it, because it's just not true. There's a million ways to get after it. So how I take that is, all right, I'm going to get after it in all sorts of different ways. Still basic bodybuilding sets, heavy set, light set, squeezing set, super set. I'm not doing anything so crazy as like an imagination set where I just sit and like flex and imagine myself doing it. But with what I'm comfortable with in the training, I want to do it as many different ways as I can. And then in the process, I'll uncover for myself, do I like doing a pull down immediately into a row? Do I like doing a row immediately into a pull down? 3 other different ways of a combination. And if the answer is yes, then sweet, maybe I'll do it again later. And if the answer is no, well then hey, I tried it, now I want to move on to something else. The stakes are low on a workout by workout basis. The stakes are high when it comes to like a consistency basis, where sure, one individual lift, if I went back in my whole history of lifting and just erased it, I'm still me right here. If anything, I might be a little bigger if I erased one of the lifts where I hurt myself, because then I'd be able to get more good workouts in. But it would change nothing, right? But when they're all added up together, that's kind of the value. So don't forget about one lift. Maybe one lift goes to shit. Your day was really off. You got some stuff going on. Try to make the best of it, but don't lose your mind either. So it's kind of this common ground of cutting yourself a little slack, but also holding yourself to what you say you're going to do. And there's cases for both, right? It's a situation by situation basis. But at least try to have the foresight to not lie to yourself. I see a lot of rest days and a lot of just BS getting spouted where it's, this guy's really just saying, I don't want to work hard. I don't like that these workouts are difficult. I don't like to sweat. I don't like to go to the gym every day. I don't like it, And if that's the sub-context of a video or someone's speech or whatever, dude, you may as well just throw me into an ice bath. How much you just turn me off, all right? Instant swipe, show me a TikTok, edit a Goku fighting Vegeta, and then let me hit a set. That's my ending statement for this car ride. But yeah, I can guarantee nobody's going to be in the gym, so I've got some pull downs to myself. But yeah, nothing else to say. Let's get started. So that's what I was talking about up there. The leg, yeah, all the leg equipment that was in there doesn't even have to move because there's enough space. That'll be cool. But let's actually get to number one. We're not thinking any of that. Let's get to the weight side of things. Let's start with rows. I've got a pull down tendency, so this will be good. And 5 plates here it's not nothing. Okay. A few more of those. That feels really good today. Okay. One more of those will do the trick. Then we're going to move on to a pull down or something. I get dogged on a little bit. Sam, why'd you only do 2 movements for a chest day? Or 2 movements for a back day? And it's like, well, what are there? Let's be real. Let's at least think about it objectively. There are rows and there are pull downs. There are pullovers, which is kind of just a pull down variant. You know, that's like saying a skull crusher is totally different than a push down. Like it is, but I mean, how different is this to this? You know? So that's where I do like the idea of, if something's really clicking, which today this machine feels sweet, yeah, I want to stick to it. You know, so let's say the next 3 sets of a pull down or whatever, also perfect. And I think, dude, let's do 4 of those and be done. Well, you know, it's something to gauge. My end workout volume is around that 8-ish, 7-ish mark set-wise, where historically, once I've done 7 or 8 good working sets, not only has it felt like that was enough, fully pumped, fully whatever, you know, still sore the day after, you know, sometimes, but also, you know, it's kind of worked for me. So that's the bias, right? That's why I like that. But I think it makes sense. You know, I wouldn't want to sit here doing 25 working sets of back. I think it would, not that it would be too much work to do, but it would just be too much like volume, and you know, you're not going to double your, you know, your actual gains by doubling your volume. If that were true, I would never leave. I'd sit here forever. I just constantly do working sets all day. So if it has to be condensed down, for me, I think at least right now, that 8 set mark is solid. But that's not to say 12 sucks or that 6 sucks. It's just that's where I'm at now, you know, and that might change. But like I was saying in the car, don't freak if somebody, oh, you get what I'm saying. No more talking. Let me hit this shit. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I think a neutral grip pull down will be a good move, which honestly for me is always a good move because I like a neutral grip pull down, but this is good back and forth. Heavy row, now transition to decently heavy pull down, and at the end, I got a lot of options. But let's get these done, or focus on getting these done rather. 2, 2. Okay. 2, 2. Yeah. 2. Okay. Oh my goodness. That was a little too heavy. All right, let's move on to something a little more light squeezing focused. All right, let's get a pull down going. So a little on the heavier side. I want to really feel it rep by rep, but the form will, I don't even want to say degrade, but we'll just say progress. First few reps when I'm strong, full stretch, full rep, maybe even hold it for a moment, and then it'll get to the point where I can't hold it anymore. I can only get to here, or I can only get to here or here. And I want to bring it to the point where I really can't move the weight much. Because what that tells me is I did it. I didn't leave much in the tank. I actually went at least as close to all out as I could. And that's a good gauge on how good your sets are. It's not even about the post-set performance, but do you know you brought it? And that's a question for you, man. I can't answer that one. Oh. Ooh, okay. All right. I think let's just do the one of those. Let's get a finisher planned. I'm not sure why. That's why I said let's get it planned. And this is standard, which I don't mind being repetitive with the end of these back days. Because honestly, I think in terms of priority, you've got as much choice as ever with your last set. If I went back and did a set of rows or pull downs or whatever, I think net, I'd probably still be all right. So what I really want to finish with is a movement where I am fully pumped. Lats, mid-traps, everything. And that's where this comes into play because it's kind of a two-parter. It's the stretch of a pull down, but a little bit more squeeze of a row. So take with that what you will. Okay. Let's find some lighting. All right, this is a nice, cool September rainy night. Feels good. That's my one overshoot, or I guess, thing I didn't really think about was this place isn't air conditioned. In July, it was a furnace. But now that it's wintertime, nearly, we're starting to cool down. So that won't be won't even be a problem at all. I got heat, man. Right, we got heat in here, that's for sure. Plus, with a freaking pump like this, you may as well just freaking like double your size and heat output just from, how pumped up you are. But yeah, let's do a glimpse. This is always fun for me because no flexing, no nothing, just doing kind of a tight shirt tuck in. Like, what's the natural stance looking like? Or what's the relaxed stance? Because, we're getting somewhere where it's a little... If you've ever seen the clip of Kevin Levrone, I'm pretty sure he's in a white shirt. I don't know, but he takes his shirt off. He's just walking around with sweatpants. The guy's back is a complete... Like, it's wider than me doing a lat spread, and he's just walking like a regular-ass fucking dude. It's nuts. But, yeah, it's like... It's not as though I look at these guys and think, I want to be just like this guy, or this big, or whatever. But I can get amped up when I see somebody walking around with a back like that, or just a fully pumped chest and arms, because I'm into the same thing. So it's not as much even emulating like somebody specific. It's more so getting amped up by everybody else's progress, historical or current, and saying, that's badass, I'm going to keep grinding. And by grinding, grinding would imply it's not fun. More like I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep aiming higher is what I'm really trying to get at. But let's see how we're looking for the back. So as time passes, I'm getting more and more excited about looking at my back, even unpumped, because if anyone has gotten a serious quad pump before, then you would know that it actually takes away some of the detail to have it fully pumped. It's bigger, of course, but not so detailed. And that's where, as cool as I think my back is when it's pumped up and full and extra wide, when I get to see it unpumped, cut up, and just diced, freaking demon eye, all sorts of shit jumping out, that's what I really like. But let's see how we're looking. Do a little... Yeah, there we go. Yeah, right there. whew, yeah, even just sucking back into that flex, I can like feel my lower back kind of like not cramping up, but just like getting tense. But yeah, that's what I want to see. The more, just like, actually, let me see if I can get a little bit of a back vein pop out. Yeah, a little. Nothing substantial. That's going to take a few more weeks dieting down to reach. But yeah, it's just to pinpoint it down to the body fat side of things. A lot of working out is very momentum building, because I mean, think about this, right? What's your motivation if you're trying to get leaner? Right? You know, you get to see yourself a little bit leaner. You know you're on track. But what I really like is the fact that if you're doing it right and you're actually consistently tracking everything, well then guess what? Your progress weight-wise can be linear. You can maintain a pound of body fat lost a week, honestly, until you're at like X crazy body fat, you know? It's not easy. You've got to increase cardio, decrease calories, keep your training up. In terms of just helping the situation, chill out on sweets so you don't mess with your, insulin sensitivity. You got to kind of get for real. But a 400-pound dude could lose a pound a week for, what would that be, 4 years, and get down to 200. It can be done. So I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it can be done. And the cool part is, every pound of body fat that you lose makes you a larger and larger and larger percent leaner than you were before, right? For a 400-pound guy, let's do an extreme here, for him to lose 50 pounds of body fat, let's just keep the math simple. Now he weighs, 12% less? About, 12.5%. So let's just say 12.5% leaner, right? If he loses another 50 pounds, well, now the math is a little bit trickier, but he's more like a 17% leaner, right? So let's say let's keep it simple. Let's say I've got 10 pounds of body fat on my body right now, total, that I can start losing. I think it's more, but 10's an easy number. If I lose 1 pound in the next week, I'm now 10% leaner. But if I keep dieting and I've only got 5 pounds to lose, now if I lose 1 pound, I'm 20% leaner. And then if I lose another pound, I'm 25% leaner. And then I'm 33% leaner. And then I'm 50% leaner in just 1 pound, So it's not as though I'm saying it's easy, but the closer you get to the goal you're aiming for, the more noticeable those changes are going to be. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that's my best motivation to say, stick it out early, because it will begin to pay off quicker than you would imagine. It's not that quick, but I'm saying it'll certainly speed up. But I think that's all I got for now. Let's shut this door, not let it get freaking soaked in here, and get home. Very good lift. Have any of you guys actually employed the method of like insane situation, like visualizing to get yourself amped? I'm talking about the like the clips of Dorian Yates talking about how he's imagining somebody about to. The quote is essentially, somebody's got a gun. I'm not going to do his accent, but somebody's got a gun to your little baby's head, and he's going to pull the trigger if you don't get one more rep. Or things along that line, like getting into that crazy. And I don't know. I haven't gotten into it. I mean, for a couple of those sets, I was listening to The Simple Life, the freaking Seth MacFarlane version. Not for hype specifically. I don't know. I just like the song for a minute. But it's like, where's this hype coming from? It doesn't have to be something wild specific. I don't need I don't know. I guess I don't know. I'm just kind of asking your take, because I think my hype is a little more guttural. It's just, take a couple huffs and puffs. Yeah, and then I'm just not even. It's go time. The only time I'm really thinking anything word-wise, I'm like, all right, come on, hit the push. Let's just get crazy. That's pre like wild heavy squats, and that's basically an off-season exclusive. I'm not gonna when I'm dieting down, squats that's non-squat season, which I'm cool with, because that gives me a little bit of a break from loading up crazy weight through my knees. So I've kind of got on season where it's more performance based, of lifting heavier weights and putting as much tension and, I don't want to say damage, but stimulus into my muscle to grow it. And then dieting, a little bit more stimulus, squeezing, pumping, maintaining, and really, honestly, kind of like, my inflammation is totally gonna, I'm still in a phase of reducing it, but fast forward 2 months when I'm a bit more peeled, yeah, that's where I'm gonna be walking around extra spry. Once I get into that probably around that 240 mark is where things are gonna start kind of looking a little wild. And that's something you can fall into a trap of, now getting into a little bit more like diet specific stuff. If you've ever been really lean and you got a bunch of pictures of yourself really lean, or videos or clips or whatever, and you're like, oh crap, I don't look like that now, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure just a touch. I go back and I look at like my prep shots every so often, but not really, because those pictures were then and now is now. So I don't need to get kind of hung up on like how cool I think I looked back then. I'm more concerned with like, okay, how can I get myself to look now? And not even for the purpose of like walking around how I look. I'm just saying like that's kind of the only measure, because that's what the thing is. If my thing was I was on like a rally car team and I was a tech, then you'd be like, man, I had that awesome engine build, dude. I tuned that thing like, I guess that would be the thing, right? But for us, it just happens to be the working out. So you can use that as a going off point, but as much as you shouldn't compare yourself to everybody else, sometimes, at least if you've been really lean at a time and then maybe now you're not, maybe you did a proper off season, just take it into account. If anything, that comparison is the most objectively viewable for you, because you know exactly what went into both of those looks, right? So just trying not to get caught up with where you are in the moment and be a little more concerned with where are you headed, right? The point isn't where you are if you're driving to get somewhere. The point is what direction you're going, and are you on track to get there? And following that car driving analogy, there's going to be roadblocks. There might be, whatever. There might be twists and turns, or a bunch of construction, or somebody kind of zipping past you, or just whatever, And it's a decent analogy to think of whatever you're working out is, because it's like, just make sure your trajectory is in that direction. If you got a marble on a ramp, it doesn't matter how many bumps and lumps and turns are on that ramp, it's always going to be pushing that ball forward toward the bottom. So even if it comes against a little bit of resistance, or even a lot of resistance, after a little bit of time, it will continue down that path. It's just the nature of things, as long as that drive is there. And that's what I like the most about working out is, you don't have to guess, right? It's not luck based to a degree. If you have enough time in your day to do your workout and to actually fit it in, and if you're skipping it, if you're eating too much, or if you don't even want to think about it because you're eating too much. It's all knowns, and the greatest minds in the world that are trying to figure out the wildest math equations, guess what? They're looking at a whole page of paper with 8 or probably like 100 unknowns, and that's taken freaking IQ 200 neuron geniuses to figure out. Now let's compare that to us. We don't even have a piece of paper. We got a sticky note. Working out, sleeping, cardio, hydration, macros, attendance in the gym. That's it. Obviously it's more than that, but you get the point I'm trying to get at. So it's like, if those things are all in order, Or if you get them in order, well, then your equation is solved and you're on track for progress. Whether it's quicker or slower than you might have expected is a little bit more of a personal issue, but as long as you're on track, dude, you are good. And that should be getting you excited. You know, I'm not even as concerned about like what weight did I lift that day or how much did I squat. Like, of course it's cool and I like it, but you know, what I really want to be able to do every time I leave the gym, you know, obviously I drove there, I'm all excited, I do my workout, I leave. What I really care about the most, beyond weight, beyond whatever, is am I happy that I brought it, and am I on track for what my goals are currently? And if I can say yes to both of those things, well, then sweet, you know? So how many things in life have like a million different, how many to-do lists do you have for just whatever, where it has 100 different boxes you got to check off? With this, it's 2. Did I bring it, and am I on track? And if I can check those 2 off, that's a serious mood booster for me. You know, if somebody really came in and had like a life-altering whatever, and I had to completely cut the gym off, like let's say I got a genetic disposition, and I go to my doctor and he says, you've got anti-gymitis. If you go to the gym one more time, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Right? That'd be. I guess I got all my eggs in one basket there, but I'm okay with that. You know, because I don't have anti-gymitis. If anything, I have hyper-gymitis, where I want to do it extra, and taking it away would mess with me. You know, but that's my point. And I've got a little. I mean, like I'm not saying I've got the accolades of a total baller bodybuilder, but looking back over was almost 3 years of all these documented lifts that I've got to bring you guys along with. There's some pretty drastic physique changes. That initial bulk, that initial diet, vice versa. I don't know if this is the 4th or the 3rd iteration. I think this might be the 4th. But either way, it's been an up and down and up and back and forth and whatever. Like, there's been some substantial changes to my build. And over the course of time, it kind of looks like this, where it's like bulk, excuse me, bulk, cut, bulk, cut, bulk, cut, and it's kind of a gradual upward trend. And I want to keep that going. You know, so I guess if you need at least a reference of somebody who's done something like that, actually, you know, maybe I'm not even the guy to watch, right? Look for somebody who's a little bit more your speed. And I don't mean that in terms of progress. I just mean in terms of like, you know, personal level. And I don't mean level in a good or bad way. I'm saying if you're a guy and you're on like a 100-pound body fat loss journey, I can tell you all I know about, you know, cardio and calories and tracking everything, and I can write out a couple, you know, meals that some people might not like, but I like. But, you know, I haven't lived that. So that's where I love the part about, you know, social media, Instagram, TikTok, everything, is because there are people like that. There are guys who have done that. And you can watch their progress and their journey. And that's probably the greatest motivator of all, is to have seen someone do it before. I mean, it's in our freaking genes, man. Monkey see, monkey do. So as soon as something has been proven possible, it's immediately more accessible to everyone worldwide. That's why that's why Olympic records typically, as soon as a long-standing one is just suddenly broken, the floodgates open, you know, and then everybody's running a sub 10-second 100-meter, and everybody's jumping X high on this, or you know, there's a few outliers, or you know, like when I think they changed the weight of the javelin so that they made it a little bit heavier, so that record will never be broken. But things like that. It's like as soon as you've seen one guy do it, it's like, oh shit, all right, now I can do it. Come on. And then sometimes you look at a guy and you're like, that guy could do it? Oh, okay, now I gotta do it. You know, that sort of deal. Yeah. But either way, that's certainly my favorite part about all these videos. And I'm not talking about mine, I'm saying all the ones that I get to see too. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that it's kind of like programming us to get sucked into our phone and like value that kind of perception over like real life. That's kind of rough. That's certainly what we could describe as, you know, the Matrix at play. So try to hold yourself off from that. You know, watch your screen time. But you know, if you're gonna watch something, you know, watch an Eddie Hall hype training video. Watch a Hafthor Bjornsson. Watch a Larry Wheels. Watch a whoever. Get yourself amped up, and then, you know, turn your music on and get, you know, working on the stuff you actually want to do. But I think nothing else to say there. Sorry these have all been such late uploads. I'm on a bad schedule, and it's not going to get that much. Like I'll get it better. I'm going to get back on track to a little bit more day schedule, but we'll get there. But yeah, good workout. So I got nothing else to say, man. I'll see you tomorrow.